Good morning, everyone. So you see on your screen today, we are going to be engaging in our career path chat with two individuals from Southeast Toyota Distributors. And while you have received their bio along with the agenda for today, I just want to reiterate some key points about both of them, and then we will dive into the questions we've prepared to chat with them about today. So we're going to start with Troy. Troy Helsel is currently the Assistant Vice President of Operations for Southeast Toyota Distributors, or SET, in Jacksonville, where he leads a team of 340 dedicated associates across two vehicle processing centers. His career with SET began as a college intern in Jacksonville, where he quickly fell in love with the area. Troy has held numerous roles within the company, including 17 years as a district and regional operations manager, calling on and supporting Toyota dealerships across the Southeast region, including a 5-year span in Jacksonville from 2001 to 2006. In 2018, Troy moved back to Jacksonville to lead SET's technical training operations team before moving to the role of director at Southeast Transportation Systems, leading a talented logistics and car hauling team that coordinated and delivered Toyotas to dealers in the Southeast region. In early 2021, Troy moved into a VPC director role before assuming his current role in January 2022. So I would like to welcome Troy to our chat today. And next up, let's meet Laura. Laura Avila currently supports Southeast Toyota Distributors, one of the companies aligned with the JM Family Enterprises. She is based out of their local offices here in Jacksonville, but also provides support to the Vehicle Processing Center in Commerce, Georgia. Laura is positioned as the HR Relationship Manager and is directly responsible for serving as a strategic HR consultant to business leaders on people-related matters, which include talent planning, change management, organizational design, and team and leader development. So please join me in also welcoming Laura to our career path chat this morning. And I would like to ask both of them to turn on their cameras and unmute so we can begin with our questions for today. And again, thank you both so very much for being here with us this morning. We appreciate your time and the tremendous knowledge and insight you're going to be sharing with all of us. So with our first question today, this is actually for both of you. Just share a little bit with us about your organization and your specific role.
Thanks, Julie. Anna and Julie, thanks for having us. It's a great opportunity for us. We're excited to be part of this, and just to share a little bit about Southeast Toyota. It's a wonderful company. As you stated, I started as an intern in 1994, and 30 years later, haven't looked back. It's been a great ride. So just a little bit about the company, actually probably a lot about the company. Southeast Toyota is a business unit of JM Family Enterprises. JM Family Enterprises headquartered in Deerfield Beach, Florida, and I'll refer to us as SET moving forward, but SET is the largest private Toyota distributor in the world, and we have responsibility for distributing Toyota vehicles, parts, and accessories to the 5 Southeast states Toyota dealers, and that's Florida, Georgia, Alabama, North Carolina, South. And within our headquarters, actually in Deerfield Beach, Southeast Toyota, with a total of 1,200 associates. Over 700 of these associates are based out of Jackson. So lion's share of the Southeast Toyota workforce is here. And another thing, other than just being a distributor, as part of our distributor agreement with Toyota, we're actually responsible for the relationships and the business results as well for those 177 dealers that we serve in the Southeast. So let me go a little bit deeper. What we have here in Jacksonville, we have 3 main operations. The first one being our parts distribution center is located in the Bay Meadows area. It currently services the entire Southeast region, and they have daily stock orders being delivered to all of our dealers to support the service and body shop activity out there. We've worked out of that facility for over 50 years, and frankly, we've outgrown it. And so we've known this has been coming a long time, but we're putting the finishing touches on a new facility that is going to be located in the Westlake Industrial Park off Pritchard Road. And they're actually going to start beginning fulfilling orders out of that operations in October. At the same time, we're also looking at building, and we are building, another parts distribution center in Atlanta. And that particular distribution center will serve the northern part of the region, whereas the Jacksonville one will serve primarily Florida. And as you can see, big investments for us, over $250 million in those two facilities alone. And the parts distribution center that's located here in Jacksonville currently employs 144 associates. The second part of our business here in Jacksonville is our vehicle processing centers, and that's my wheelhouse. Basically what we do is the vehicles come in from either they get railed in on rails from the North American production plants like Georgetown, Kentucky, Princeton, Indiana, California, things like that. And we take them off the rail cars, we get them prepped for the dealer lots. We install accessories on those vehicles to make them unique to our region, and that builds value for our customers. So from a standpoint of the Jacksonville locations, we actually have 3 VPCs. One is in Commerce, Georgia, and that serves the dealers in the northern part. And then the facility here at Westlake, where I'm located, serves primarily Florida dealers as far as the vehicles are concerned. We also have a vehicle production facility on the river, and we have a great relationship with JAXPort over there. And at that facility, we process the vehicles that are built in Japan, and they come in 1,500, 2,000 at a time on these huge vessels, and they get offloaded, and we process them and ship them to the dealers. We have also outgrown that facility as well. So you may have heard, or some of you may have seen in the news, we're in the process of building a facility on Blunt Island, and that facility will be completed about a year from now. We'll be moving in. When we move in there, it's going to increase our capacity by 50%, and it will not only will be able to process vehicles that come from Japan, but we'll also be able to rail in vehicles that are produced in North America. So we'll have a nice balance there. And all in, just to put it in perspective, our 3 vehicle processing centers produce and ship out to the dealers over 400,000 Toyota and Lexus vehicles per year. And about 65% of them are done here in Jacksonville. The third piece of our business here in Jacksonville is our trucking and logistics sector. We have our own company. It's called Southeast Transportation Systems. If you see those car haulers on the road, it's the big trucks with the red trailers and the white truck Peterbilt with the Toyota logo on the side. Those are our trucks. And we have 109 associates in that department currently in Jacksonville. We have a total fleet of 112. Some of them are located up north in Georgia. And we deliver approximately 45% of the Toyota vehicles to those dealers that I mentioned earlier. And then the logistics side of that coordinates with outside carriers to all the balance. In addition to the associate numbers I mentioned, we also have a contingent labor force of over 400, and we work through staffing agencies to build that, to keep that the workforce up. And so that's a lot of work in itself. And quite frankly, over the years, we've become pretty dependent on that workforce right there to be our labor pool. You know, we look for folks that are good culture fits, folks that show up to work when they're supposed to, they got good attitudes, and that's where we fill the majority of our frontline workforce is from those labor pools. So that's not always going to be there. And so we're very much interested in partnering with some schools and just getting a little bit more involved, and Laura will talk more about that here shortly. That's about it.
Wonderful. Laura, did you have anything you wanted to add to that? Very extensive and helpful description.
Yeah, I think Troy did a good job, so nothing to add on that end. Thank you.
Okay, wonderful. And we're certainly excited to see that there's been great progress made on the new facility. I believe 340,000 square feet, creating this world-class facility. So certainly really excited about that, and glad that that's just one of the many components that you all are engaged in right here in this region.
Yeah, I mean, as you can see, we're obviously invested in Jacksonville for the next 50 years, you know, and it's as you guys said earlier, it's a great place to be when it comes to logistics. It's just perfectly located. We've got the river, we've got the highways, we've got the rails, and it makes good business sense for us to stay here.
It really does. Love to hear about that long-term investment as well, 50 years. Even the students that are being taught right now in today's high schools, that will span their entire working career. So again, when you're thinking about the educators on this call, the community-based partners on this call, they can confidently, describe the many opportunities that are going to be here long-term for individuals in the workforce. All right, well, we're going to move to our second question here, and that is for Laura. There are many paths one can take within transportation and logistics. We mentioned a few, but inventory control, dispatcher, transportation coordinator, trainer and manager, working in a distribution center. What are some of the roles available within your organization that will hire a high school graduate? So that's one component. And then an adult with less than a bachelor's degree.
Yeah, and I can kind of address that, last part of the question initially. So I would say across our organizations, we want to consider the talent that is a good fit for us based on experience, career goals, and then, just being a good fit for our culture. But we have hired in the past and will continue to consider high school graduates and folks who maybe are not high school graduates for some of those entry-level roles in production areas in transportation and logistics. We do have a lot of roles within our accessory installation team. When we look at our warehouse, we have material handler and warehouse positions that don't have that minimum education required. However, leaning to what I mentioned at the forefront is we do take a look at previous experience, work history and culture fit, to consider a good placement. Outside of those production roles, we do have specialized positions within transportation and logistics across SET that really are tied into supporting our operations support teams. So those work hand in hand with vehicle processing and our trucking division that do require certain educational or certification levels. So I do want to, call that out in the conversation today. I know Troy brought up our trucking division. So we do have, a large pool, over 100 drivers on the road who get those vehicles to our dealers. And we do seek out car haulers. I feel like every single time we have an opportunity to post. We also take a focus on diesel technicians. So we're looking for those who are experienced and meet certain certification requirements. So we do have a minimum time frame of experience for our car haulers. We want them to have at least 3 years of commercial driving experience, and then of course holding that CDL certification. We also want to hire candidates that might have the specialized education to come on board in other roles within ops support. So those candidates, will have education requirements at minimum at a bachelor's degree. For example, when we consider the engineers that support our vehicle operations, we have folks that we hire for industrial engineering positions. We also consider some mechanical engineers that support some of our product development and accessory development areas. Beyond that, we do have some analyst roles. We do have some folks in IT that support our specific business unit of SET. So of course, when you consider IT, they need to have some certain levels of education and experience there. And we also are always looking for project managers, those with business and organizational development and experience. We definitely want to consider them as well. So based on, the role that we're hiring for and expertise that is needed, there might be a minimum education in a certain field and a bachelor degree level. So outside of those specialized roles, when we consider some of our production areas, I know Troy spoke to the warehouse facilities and also the vehicle processing centers. So for those positions, we don't necessarily require a high school education per se. Most of the screening and interview process is going to be related around their specific experience, potential for growth, and then being a good match for our company culture. I do want to call out some things that we consider, and just so there's awareness with this group, that for folks who are already a part of our organization, we do love to promote from within. So when we consider the tie between education and selection, if we have an associate who has been performing at a great level, within our production teams, and they apply for a lead or a supervisor position, the hiring manager, at times, might look for candidates, internal candidates who have pursued that secondary education, whether that be an associate's or bachelor's degree. But I think that ties into something I would love to sell within this group, within JM Family and Southeast Toyota, is that, we offer a wonderful education assistance program. So I know that other companies might do it, but, just wanted to make that call out here in this conversation. So the education assistance program is available from day one and supports our associates to meet their educational goals. So associates can select enrollment in either a bachelor's or master's degree, and is provided by our partner. So Florida Atlantic University is based in Deerfield Beach, so they're our direct partner. And if associates decide to enroll in the program, provided by FAU, then their education is funded 100% by our company. Now, along with that, we understand associates, might have a specific program that they want to pursue outside of FAU in that group. They can apply for a very great reimbursement opportunity. So for undergraduate or graduate courses at an accredited college, of course. So when we consider bare minimums of what we require for a lot of our production or warehouse positions, we do focus more so on experience. For some of our specialized roles, there are going to be certifications, education requirements. But the plug I'm going to put here is, when you do, and if you join our company, we do support you to get some additional education based on your aspirations.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Laura, for sharing that. And I think that's going to be an encouragement to individuals. Maybe they just want to enter the industry, see what they think, and then continue their education in pursuit of achieving some additional roles within the company. So thank you so much for sharing that big picture perspective and what it's going to take to get into the various roles available at Southeast Toyota. So moving to question 3, we have 7 regional colleges that offer degree or certificate programs that are related to this industry. We have 8 career and technical education academies, CTE academies, that focus on transportation and logistics and related skills. What kind of education path do you look for in prospective hires? What are some valuable skills, credentials, or non-negotiables? I know that some of the educational components were just referenced by Laura, but maybe let's take a closer look at that, and Troy's going to field that question.
Yeah, and a lot of this is piggyback off what Laura just said, but just to add some color to it, we've got, as she mentioned, a very diverse group across our location from an education perspective and what those requirements look like. So to make it easier, I'm going to break it down into the 3 businesses that I mentioned above earlier and highlight those roles that require some of that specialized education path. So on the trucking logistics side, Laura mentioned it. Obviously, the CDL is huge with minimum experience. I would like to say that during my time in our trucking area, we had a longstanding rule, if you will, that we didn't hire any car haulers that didn't have previous car hauling experience. And what we found was we were just getting people who the other companies didn't want, and they weren't necessarily good culture fits for us. They might have got released from their duties, or they maybe, quit and left somewhere for $1. That's not necessarily what we're looking for. So we changed our stance a couple of years ago on that. And really now what we look for now is that CDL. We look for minimum trucking experience. And we're looking for that culture fit. And we are bringing drivers in now that maybe they hauled for Publix, or maybe they hauled for some other manufacturer, and they were pulling reefer trailers, or they were doing something outside of the car hauling. And we have implemented a very structured training plan for those folks that come in. And it's a 3 to 6 month program before they're actually set out on their own with their own truck. And that has worked really well for us. And, I would talk to any business and tell them, don't be so steadfast on the rules of old when it comes to hiring. We have to do things out of the box. And that was a great example of one thing we did. In the shops, Laura referred the diesel mechanics. We do require, previous experience and certifications on that. We're just not equipped to do all the training around that. So the good news is we don't have a lot of turnover in that area, so we haven't had to search too far for that. On the parts distribution warehouse piece, the associates that work on the floor, again, we don't require higher education of any sort. Many of the associates in those roles originally came over from that temp staffing pool that I mentioned earlier. And it's been a good pool for us. And really the philosophy there is we can teach them how to do anything as long as they are a good culture fit for us. And that's the approach we've been taking. We get people in here all the time that have never had a wrench in their hands in their life, and we teach them how to install accessories. It's not, what we do is not so technical that you have to have all that experience and training, but it's simple things. And again, we're looking for the culture piece. On the vehicle processing side, similar to the parts distribution, is just looking for the good work ethic, good attitudes, and just a willingness to learn more. And those roles I just mentioned in the last two sections make up a very high percentage of our overall headcount. And a technical background is a plus, and that's an area we may lean towards moving forward if this staffing thing ever doesn't work out for us, is doing more recruiting around that. I think that's an area we can get better at with the help of some schools and some relationships there. We have some specialized role that Laura already mentioned that do require college degrees. I won't touch on those again, but we also have some other roles, like we have a paint shop at 2 of our locations and a new car warranty group. So very technical savvy group. There's times where we get vehicles from the factory that have a defect and they have to be repaired, or they have a damage, they have a dent in the fender or a scratch on the door and they have to repair those. So we have to make sure that those things are, when they get to the dealerships, they look just like they roll off the assembly line. So we do that. And almost all of our roles, including the higher volume ones, we have over the last 3 years implemented a very structured career path. Once somebody gets here, it's very clear to them that if they want to do more and they raise their hand for development, there is a career path that's documented. For example, if you're an accessory installer, you can move to a trainer, then you can move to a shop support specialist, then you have an opportunity to advance to a coordinator, then to a supervisor, and manager, director, etc. But that is all documented, and the associates know exactly where they stand. There's some people that if they install accessories, they just want to be the best accessory installer they can be for their entire career, and that's fine. You need those, but a lot of opportunity for advancement.
That's fantastic. Thank you for laying out a detailed career pathway of what somebody may choose to do. I think that's really a fantastic way to approach it, particularly with the generation entering the workforce. Understanding where they can go and what it takes to get there is a really critical piece, and individuals want to know that there are growth opportunities. You both have mentioned company culture several times. And so if I could, I'd like to ask you to kind of explain what your company culture is. If you're talking to a prospective new hire, how would you promote your culture? I've heard work ethic, showing up on time, those sorts of things, but can you summarize that for me?
Laura, you want to take a stab at that and I can fill in the blanks for you?
Yeah, for sure. So I was going to get to that probably towards the end of the conversation today, but we do take a look past experience and exposure that a candidate has when considering them for employment within JM Family. I had an opportunity to recruit for SCT and JM Family for a couple of years, and what I have noticed and is a true attribute to the leadership support is that, you know, we understand based on our founders, like level base, you know, our associates are our most important asset. So we do take pride in developing those associates, but we do understand that they have to be a good match with our culture. So our cultural, you know, I guess baseline is based on our core values. So we call them the 3 C's, the I, and the A. So those core values are consideration, cooperation, communication, and then you go to the I and the A, it's innovation and accountability. So I would say that something I have noticed just in my support of the organization from a human resources perspective is we really mean what we say. And when I was in the space of recruiting associates is if you can exhibit some of these core values in that interview process, we, you know, have much more reliance and confidence in you that you can exhibit those in your day-to-day. So when we consider our culture, it really helps us be pivotable and ready for any changes that might come across our plate. So we understand that people are a strength, and when we are working with Toyota and, you know, valuing that partnership with them, we understand what our associates need to exhibit to portray those core values. So every single day, I think in my day-to-day and communication with associates and leaders is a necessary, I guess, standpoint of how I can exhibit those core values. So, you know, I think the biggest point around those 3 C's, you know, when we consider communication, you need to tell people what's going on. You need to be visible, you need to cooperate, and you need to consider what everybody else has going on their plate. When we consider innovation and accountability, I think that speaks to the Toyota brand overall. You know, we are going to do it better and deliver to our dealers the best that we can. So there is a special emphasis on exhibiting those core values, but I would say that those core values also help sell who we are and make it a good place to work. So Troy, I'm not sure if you have anything else to add.
I couldn't have said it better. I will add, you know, I refer to this occasionally with our leaders, and we are a private distributor that Toyota has chose to do business. In the entire nation, there are 2 private distributors out of 12 regions. The other 10 are owned and operated by Toyota. And if we don't continue to add value to be better than the rest of them, then they don't need us as a private distributor. They can run this distributorship themselves. And so that we use that as a checkpoint often, that we need to continue to innovate and do better and develop our associates so that we've got leaders for the future, and in bringing in the right people, it has to start there.
Fantastic. Thank you both so much. I think it was just critical for us to mention that now to continue to set the stage for the additional information you're going to share. It really just reinforces the types of skills that everyone on this call will want to ensure that students have those opportunities to develop those skills so that they can be that good culture fit that you're looking for. So thank you both so much for sharing that. The next thing that we're going to look at, some of the jobs that you're currently hiring for, it sounds like drivers, car haulers, folks on the floor, those are often available jobs. But if you could just kind of share what you're looking at right now, that would be most helpful.
Yeah, and I'm taking the lead on the response for this question. So I did have previous indirect experience with recruiting for SCT here in Jacksonville and Commerce. So do want to make the plug, you know, that all of our job opportunities are available on our website, so jmfamily.com/careers. We are really good at posting those opportunities as soon as they become available based on the needs of the business and any changes that might be going on. The candidates and job seeker can sort for jobs based on location, type of job, and the business unit. So things to keep in mind as far as opportunities that we are always on the hunt for, specifically for our vehicle processing centers. So, there's a lot of emphasis around, the production that we provide and support that we do to our dealers. So the VPC tech position will probably be posted more so than often. When we consider the industry and what is more relatable as far as jobs in the industry, they're known as accessory installers. So those VPC techs, they're trained and they earn certifications here within SET to complete various installs on new Toyota vehicles. So we have core shops within our vehicle processing centers on paint film installation, wheels installation, pre-delivery service, and one stop. So one stop is more high level when it comes to installations requiring torque backup and some more fine tuning when it comes to those installs. So you will probably more than often see those positions posted in addition to the warehouse associate positions in support of our parts distribution center. So I know Troy touched on that earlier, that we have the representation here right now in Jacksonville for the warehouse that produces and provides the parts to those 177 plus dealers. When you consider a customer going into the dealer, they say, I need a fix on my car, and a lot of times there's a new part that is required to support that fix. So those warehouse associates either pick and receive and then deliver or work as part of the delivery of those parts to the dealers. So we are always looking for those folks. Right now, it looks like we have some part-time positions available here locally in Jacksonville at our Bay Meadows location. Lastly, there will be a continual plug for safe and experienced car haulers to help us maintain that on-time delivery of vehicles to our dealers across the 5 southeastern states. So minimum CDL certification, and then 2 to 3 years of commercial driving experience.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And I will make sure to put your website where all jobs are posted in the notes, so people will have access to that and they will be able to direct their students to your website. Thank you so much for sharing that information. And next up, Laura, I believe the next question is for you as well. We're curious to know how students can engage with SET for experiential learning opportunities. So those internships, the thing that made Troy so interested in staying in this area, right? So if a student is interested in an internship or a job shadowing experience, how would that student access the opportunity?
Yeah, so I already made the plug about our careers website. So definitely wanting to connect interested candidates to that location and opportunity. When it comes to internships, I can tell you that I had opportunity to lead our JM Family internship program for the past couple of years. So when you consider JM Family, we're a diverse automotive company. So we have different lines of business, one of them being SET. And we have hired, I think, probably the largest return of interns because we provide them an opportunity to get some very specific project management experience, work-related, experience. We have locations here in Jacksonville and Commerce, and I think summer after summer we have at least like 8 to 10 interns that we onboard in areas of engineering, logistics and transportation, operations, technical background. And the leaders here in these locations, they definitely invest in those interns over a span of 10 to 12 weeks, where they come on site and they work with different groups and departments to gain experience, provide input, and they also have a lot of impact, because when we consider the internship program that we roll out across our organization beyond SET, it really is an opportunity for us to learn and then gain some diverse, ideas. So when we consider what we do from a learning opportunity perspective, we have the internship program. So that's spanned across all of our business units. SET has done a great job to hire interns who have had a successful summer internship. Beyond that, we also, consider it an opportunity for us to gain more perspective and connection with local high schools. We understand there's an opportunity for us to gain, a connection with early level of potential talent, to cultivate those relationships and then attract top candidates for various production roles at either vehicle processing or parts distribution. So, really the overall strategy for our company is to prioritize the relationships with schools that we have existing ties with, and then with schools that have programs aligned with our company needs. So we are excited to learn about local high schools who might have programs around automotive technology, transportation and logistics, to really make the most of our time if and when, we can start doing some more engagement. Engagement, can be anything from holding on-site events, participating in career fairs, holding info sessions just to share, hey, this is who SCT is, and these are the type of roles that we hire for. One of the call-outs that I would share around considering high school talent is, we do have a minimum hiring age requirement, which is 18 years of age. And then we also want to consider, there might be some students who have, shorter school days, based on, different programs that they are enrolled in. Most of the production roles that we hire for operate within our core hours. So that's Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 2:15. So there might be, some hoops that we have to jump through a little bit there. But at minimum, I think that if we can get in front of the group of, students who are close to graduation and have a passion or an interest in automotive, I think that, we can leverage the connections, even in this conversation today to hold maybe some info sessions and just education with the student group about who we are and some opportunities that might be available for them.
I love that. I'm thinking a couple of things as you're speaking, Laura. One, I definitely need to be in touch with you after this event to do a spotlight on your internship program for our EarnUp website. Not only do we feature internships that are active in this region, but we like to do a spotlight on different companies. So I would love to connect with you about that. And certainly we can help make those connections to our various educational providers. The 10 to 12 week on-site internship, can you give us an idea of when you typically start to post for those roles and when that 10 to 12 week time period starts?
Yeah, so our program technically launched as far as on-site placement for our interns on June the 6th. It ran through August 11th, so 10 to 12 week typically time frame. I do want to call out that some of our business units do want to hire talent earlier than that, and I know based on the student and whatever program that they're involved in, it might be available sooner. So we do, from a larger organizational perspective, we post those positions in the spring. So that can be as early as February or March. So we try to be as proactive as possible beyond posting the positions. There are different events and engagement with various schools that are aligned, with different programs that we try to attract and hire from. Might occur as early as this winter, but we do focus on a lot of the hiring process in the spring. So I would say some of our postings may be out there as early as March or April for hire and placement for June.
Okay, great. Wonderful. And so students would go to the website you've referenced already to search for those internships as well.
Yep, and we do have a subpage there if folks want to learn a little bit more about our internship program and what we have done this year and previous years.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So we're going to move to our next question, and I believe Troy is going to field this question regarding how AI is impacting your roles in your organization.
Okay, so for my role directly, not so much. I giggle a little bit. I'm a little old school, so a little bit averse at this point. And I will say we have an internal version. If some of you are familiar with ChatGPT, that exists out there, very powerful tool on the web. We have an internal version called Copilot that runs on the Microsoft platform. We use that internally because any searches that are done on there are held internally. It's an IT, risk situation. So our information is not out there on the web. It serves us well for Teams meetings. We use Teams, creating summary notes of the meetings, very basic stuff for now. But I will say we are looking hard at it for the future. We are in the process right now of implementing a new ERP system, it's a 3-year project. We are still on mainframe, and some of you, if you know what mainframe is, that's like 70s, 80s technology. And we're moving over to a cloud-based system that's going to run off of Microsoft D365 platform. One of the exciting things we're looking forward to is being able to have a more reliable predictive data that will allow us to create a full system with our vehicle processing with more accurate ETAs for our dealers for processing and delivery. Currently as vehicles move through our facilities, we process in FIFO manner, first in, first out. And the average vehicle only sits at our VPC for about 2.5 to 3 days, and then it's gone to the dealership. Our vision for the future on that is to create a tool similar to, if you're familiar with the Domino's Pizza app, that would allow dealers real-time information regarding the location and status of the vehicles once they've arrived at one of our processing centers up until the time it's delivered. So that's exciting for us. That's a couple years down the road, but we have an entire data team that's dedicated to figuring that out, and we will get there.
That's so cool. So is this an opportunity maybe for a student intern to help work on an app of this nature?
Absolutely. We use Power Apps in there. We've got a team that is very good, Microsoft Power Apps, and they're building tools left and right for us to use to make us more efficient. And I want to say we just hired an intern that recently did an internship to fill an open role. So there's a perfect example of that in that group data set.
That's fantastic. I think some people on our call are going to have students that are excited about those types of opportunities. Thank you for sharing that. And then moving on to our next question, what is really exciting about what you see happening in your industry? We know about the growth at the port. Things are moving forward very well, but what's really exciting about what's happening in your industry in the next several years? What do you see is the long-term growth of the industry in the next 10 years or so?
I want to talk about, it's both exciting and a little bit terrifying at the same time, and that's the push on electric vehicles. Okay, the electric vehicles, first of all, it's a manufacturing marvel by no stretch of the imagination. It's really poised to change a lot of things. Some of you remember a couple years ago, the EPA came out with long-term EV mandates, and several automobile manufacturers went all in on their EV strategies. Toyota was not one of them. Toyota instead took an approach differently and focused on developing more hybrid vehicles. And a hybrid, just real quick, uses both electric and traditional internal combustion to run, and it's lower emissions, increases fuel economy, etc. The batteries on these vehicles charge themselves while the vehicle is running. And so more recently, it's coming to light that consumers aren't necessarily as ready for the EV onslaught as a lot of people thought they would be. Sales of electric vehicles have slowed recently, and there's really 3 primary reasons for that. The first one is affordability. We all see the interest rates and things like that, and the average electric vehicle is more expensive than an internal combustion vehicle. And with the interest rates as high as they are, some people just can't afford it. And so maybe we'll see that get better as interest rates get back in line. The second piece is think about electric infrastructure to be able to charge all these vehicles. I know we see the Tesla stations, and Tesla's done a really nice job over the years getting these stations out there, but it's not, that whole infrastructure is not mature enough to support the projected sales. And feel like the customers know that. If you own a home and you can afford and you can install a charging station within your garage, you're all set. But think about consumers who live in apartment complexes, they have a home without a garage. they have nowhere to conveniently charge their vehicles. And the key word there is convenient. So that's the second piece that's, I think, slowing it down a little bit. And then the third one is there's this thing called range anxiety. You've heard of that? It's a real thing. Consumers who may have longer commutes to work or want to go on long trips, they really don't want to have to worry about figuring out where they're going to get their next charge. It's not as easy as just stopping at a gas station along the interstate. And that is a real concern. So up until the point where manufacturers can get longer ranges out of these EV vehicles where they have to get charged, that's going to continue to happen. And I know there's a lot of smart people at these auto manufacturers. They'll figure it out someday. So that's the three things it's kind of slowed the industry down a little bit, but it's coming. The EV mandates that are coming. So for us specifically, we're getting ready to invest in, make serious investments in EV charging banks here at our vehicle processing centers. It's already built into the plan for Long Island. But when these vehicles come in, Toyota is going to require us to deliver it to the dealership with a minimum state of charge. And so we are going to have banks of chargers set up to do this prior to those vehicles exiting our facility. And so we're in the process of doing that. And in 2025, we'll get those installed. And we're expecting a large increase in EV vehicles, on the Toyota side in 2026. So it's really exciting.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And you mentioned earlier, part of the core values is innovation. And, this is definitely an instance of innovation and how that's totally impacting the industry. So thank you for sharing that. Last question for today. What message do you hope resonates with teachers, parents, students, community-based organizations about transportation and logistics? And Laura, I believe you were going to take this question.
Yeah, and I know that we're close to time, so I'll try to be short in this if possible, because I think that this is such a good question. And I think Troy can also call out that, whatever we can do to sell JM Family and SET, we try to do the best that we can. So when we consider really what's going on across the market industry, I've had a lot of time within the recruiting space. And when we look at, great companies that are seeking talent in the transportation and logistics space, I know that I'm a little bit sold on the fact that JM Family and SAT is a place to work. But no matter what, that there's a varied ebb and tide in the job market, and different organizations that are hiring within transportation and logistics, they're always going to be on the lookout to actively source, a great group of talent in that space. So people who are willing to learn, people who are doing what they can from an education and experience perspective to be ready. So, from a JM Family and SAT perspective, we pride ourselves on being an employer of choice, and we have been identified as that, continuously year after year within this space. We are 5,000 plus associates strong. Of that group, almost half of us have been with the company for 10 plus years. We've been rated number 22 on Forbes list of America's largest private companies. We're successful. I can tell you we're 20 plus billion successful, but that doesn't matter when it comes, to what you hear from our associates. They are happy and they're successful, and I think that that's what we pride ourselves the most on. When we consider what we want to resonate with the space of folks who are looking for opportunities in this space is, JM Family is here. We'd love to consider you. This is a company that offers a great deal of benefits of opportunity and stability. So I think, Troy and I did our best to share a lot about our culture, but we do understand that people are a strength. And, our founder, set the stage in understanding that our associates are our most important asset. So, we cannot be successful without our associates being successful. So we do our best to exhibit our core values every day: consideration, cooperation, communication, innovation, and accountability. So we are always preparing for the future in various ways. And, if and when folks join this company, they're going to be provided with competitive salaries, a really great opportunity for retirement. And in the meantime, we're going to take care of you. So the transportation and logistics industry, I know there's going to be a lot of changes, but, I would say from my perspective, from recruiting and supporting this team from an HR standpoint, we are doing what we need to do to be attractive, and we are ready for the talent if and when they want to come on board with us.
That's excellent. Thank you so much. And going back to culture and what's so important to you all, it reminds me of a quote that I saw on the wall in the very first workforce development facility in which I worked. And that quote is, "Your success is our success." And I feel like what you have both shared with us this morning just reiterates that that's what you're looking for to offer your workforce. And that is a core value that you all have. So appreciate you sharing that information and how those core values are actually put into action to positively impact your workforce.
And Julie, I'd like to just throw out there, if there's anybody on the call that would like to come by and have a tour of our facility, see us in action, just reach out. I'll be happy to coordinate that.
Perfect. Thank you. And I will definitely put that in the notes. And I'll probably put your email addresses there too, because you may be getting some responses from those on the call. And even those that aren't on the call, if they receive the notes, you still may be hearing from them. So that's a great offer, and truly gives people a chance to put eyes on your organization and make sure that their students are engaged in those meaningful work-based learning opportunities. So, all right. At this point, we're going to go back to a few slides very quickly, just to emphasize to everyone resources available through earnup.org. And I think that as we're looking at these, you can definitely continue to explore the information that both Troy and Laura shared with us this morning, particularly looking at the transportation and logistics industry on EarnUp. You see that individuals can quickly click. They can access our Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube channel. Certainly going to earnup.org is the way to begin exploring those career pathways. And if you're looking at the slide, you can see that at the bottom left of our slide. We also like to go in and provide classroom presentations to showcase the various industries that are here, transportation and logistics being one of tremendous growth and one of our primary target industries. But there are a variety of different resources that I'd like to encourage our educational partners and our community-based partners on the call to leverage. One of those things would be looking at the industry reports and the industry overview. We have developed these for each of our target and support industries, and one of our tasks this summer was to update every single one of our reports with the latest information and data from Jobs EQ. So when you're speaking to students, parents, your colleagues, you have the best and most updated information to share with them, information about transportation and logistics and the other industries that we're seeing continually grow here in Northeast Florida. So please make sure you check those out. Data is important, but it's also really essential to showcase the people behind the profession. And to that end, we have success stories. This is just a sampling of some of the success stories that we have on our website. And all of these folks are engaged in the transportation and logistics space. So anyone on the EarnUp website simply needs to click the photo and they'll be able to read an article about the individual, how they got into the industry, the education or experience they had, what they love about the industry. So again, that's just another way to reinforce to students and parents the many opportunities that are here. And certainly with Laura and Troy today, I'm sure they have many success stories they could share. So again, I will be in contact and we could even add to the wealth of stories that we have on the EarnUp website. We want to make it real to the users of the website. And we've mentioned a couple of times the importance of work-based learning opportunities and internships being one of those key pieces. And so on EarnUp, we do have an internships board, an internship platform, if you will, that sources internships from Northeast Florida from Indeed.com, and it sorts them into the various industries of growth here in this region. And so an individual can click on and review the internships that are posted on Indeed, and they can apply for those internships directly through Indeed. Certainly, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the blogs that we have available on EarnUp as well. This is a way for us to showcase information specifically to events occurring in our region. We will do a focus on transportation and logistics because it aligns with our workforce briefing this quarter. But looking at great resources, some people really resonate with that blog format, being able to just read and stay aware and updated of the things that are happening right here in the region to expand their learning, awareness, and understanding of career pathways. I think it's important also to share this kind of information with students and with parents. You know, we have spent this morning learning about Southeast Toyota, the tremendous transportation and logistics industry that is alive and well right here in this region. But for some reason, sometimes students may need a little bit more information to show them, in addition to earnup.org and all of those resources, why it's great to live and work right here in the region. And so I would encourage them to check out findyourjax.com and also look at some of these stats. And please feel free to share this with students and with parents, particularly top 25 places for young professionals to live. And Forbes gave us that stat in July 2023. Great place to start a business. We do hear this from students quite often. A wonderful U.S. city for job seekers, and a very vibrant job market right here in the region. A couple of other stats and facts. Top 25 best city for Gen Z professionals. Again, a top city for job seekers. Millennials are moving here. We are experiencing that tremendous growth and interest. As Troy mentioned earlier, this area is perfectly positioned for not only transportation and logistics, but also for providing a fantastic lifestyle for the talent that chooses to live and work here.